Another important theory which explains about particle nature of electromagnetic radiation. This is photoelectric effect. Photoelectric effect was proposed by Einstein. According to this, when certain metals such as potassium, rubidium, cesium were exposed to a beam of light, a beam of visible light, electrons were ejected. Electrons were coming out. So this phenomenon is said to be photoelectric effect. Let us say this is in metal surface. Let us assume it is a metal surface. For this metal surface, if visible light of certain frequency, this is visible light of certain frequency is allowed to hit the metallic surface. When visible light of certain frequency hit the metallic surface, electrons are coming out. These electrons which are coming out from the metal surface are identified by detector. This is a detector. And through this is an ammeter which identifies how much current is passing through it. That current passes through the circuit. This is a positive plate because this is connected to the positive terminal of the battery. So that electron is easily attracted to the positive plate. So these electrons are passed through the circuit. These electrons which are coming out from the metallic surface are said to be photoelectrons. Photoelectrons. These photoelectrons are directly proportional to photocurrent. This flow of electron through circuit is said to be current. So when photoelectrons are more, photocurrent is more produced. When photoelectrons are less produced, photocurrent is less produced in the circuit. This is the concept. Now here we have to understand few important points. So we have to supply some beam of light on the metallic surface, then electrons are coming out from the metallic surface. How much energy we have to supply? How much energy of visible light we have to supply on the metallic surface to eject the electrons? Why we have to supply the electron? How much we have to supply the electron to eject the electrons? Now let us understand this. Here we already know a little bit about structure of an atom based on the previous theories up to Rutherford model. According to Rutherford model, this is an atom. Atom which contains nucleus and electrons are revolving around the nucleus. Here electrons are there, here is a nucleus. These electrons and nucleus are tightly held together by electrostatic attractive forces. So our main intention is what? We are supplying light to eject the electrons. So these nucleus and electrons are held together by attractive forces. Whenever these are having attractive forces, to eject the electrons, to remove the electrons or to overcome the attractive forces, we have to supply some energy. When you supply some energy, immediately electrons will not come out. If I supply as soon as the light to this atom, electrons will not come out immediately. There should be some work done between them. Work has to be done between them, between the nucleus and electron. We have to break the attractive forces between the nucleus and electron. After breaking the attractive forces between nucleus and electrons, then only electrons will come out from the metal. So to break out the attractive forces, we have to supply minimum amount of energy. The minimum amount of energy which is required to eject electrons is said to be threshold energy. I am writing here minimum energy of light of photons required to eject electrons is called threshold energy. Threshold energy are also said to be work function. There should be some work function, there should be some work done. We can also write work done. You can write here work done. Work done. There should be some work should be done on the attempt because we have to break the attractive forces. So that is said to be threshold energy or work done. Okay, so this, suppose when you are supplying energy, so this is a metallic surface. Let us assume it is a metallic surface. Every metal having a characteristic threshold energy. Every metal having a characteristic threshold energy. For example, myself having some energy, suppose I am having 1000 joules of energy. If anybody want to push me, they should apply more than 1000 joules, then only they can push me. If they supply less than 1000 joules or is equal to 1000 joules, they cannot able to push me. So 1000 joules is the characteristic energy of myself. Similarly, every metal having a characteristic frequency. That is a characteristic frequency, that is said to be threshold frequency. That threshold frequency I am writing as a nu naught. Threshold energy in the form of threshold frequency nu naught. If I supply the light of 10 joules, if I supply 10 joules of energy, in that 4 joules utilized to do some work done. Why it has to do some work here? Because it has to break the attractive forces. First it has to break the attractive forces, then only electrons are ejected. To break the attractive forces, out of 10 joules, let us assume 4 joules of energy is utilized to break the attractive forces between nucleus and electron. After that, remaining energy, 10 minus 4, 6. Remaining that 6 joules can be utilized for the kinetic energy of electron. Very important point. You understand this. This is a metallic surface. For this metallic surface, I am supplying 10 joules of visible light. When I supply 10 joules of visible light, immediately electrons cannot be ejected because electrons and nucleus are held together by attractive forces. So out of 10 joules, some amount of energy utilized to do some work. I mean, which is to break some attractive forces between from nucleus and outermost electron. After breaking the attractive forces, then remaining amount of energy is utilized for the kinetic energy of electrons. So out of 10 joules, 4 joules utilized to do some work. Work means to break the attractive forces. Remaining 6 joules are utilized for the kinetic energy of electrons. From this point, I can write one equation. Whatever the energy I am supplying here is equal to work done plus kinetic energy. 10 joules is equal to 4 plus 6 joules, right? So out of 10 joules, some amount of energy for work done, remaining for kinetic energy. So I can write here W naught work done plus kinetic energy. Okay. So this is a relation. Energy is equal to W naught plus kinetic energy. Here W naught is equal to work done, or I can also write work function, and K is equal to kinetic energy. And E is incident energy. Light of energy. Incident light of energy. When you supply E amount of incident light, out of E, W naught will be work done, remaining will be kinetic energy. If I rewrite this W naught, this is a formula. This E is equal to W naught plus kinetic energy. What is W naught? Work done. So when work will be done? I already told you. When work will be done between the nucleus and electrons, every metal having a characteristic frequency called as threshold frequency. If you are supplying the frequency more than threshold frequency, then electrons are ejected. Less than or equal, if you supply incident light, there is no electrons are ejected. So I can write here E is equal to, as hnu and W naught as hnu naught. Nu naught here threshold frequency, which is a characteristic of every metal. characteristic of each metal. Okay. Now I can substitute here h nu is equal to h nu naught plus kinetic energy. This is an important relation. We can also write h nu is equal to h nu naught plus half mv square. Okay, this is the relation based on the photoelectric effect. Now few important points we have to understand further in the photoelectric effect. That is, which type of metals are taken. Generally I told you here, the metals used in the photoelectric effect are alkali metals. Alkali metals are used like potassium, rubidium, cesium. All these metals are used. Why only alkali metals? Why are we using only alkali metals in the photoelectric effect? The reason is we are going to eject electron from metallic surface. To eject the electron from metallic surface, we have to break the attractive forces. So the metal which are having less attractive forces, that type of metal can lose electron easily. Which type of metal can lose electron easily? High atomic size. Higher atomic size, low ionization energy. When metals having high atomic size, nucleus to outermost electron, attractive forces will be less, so that energy will be required for them is very less, so that we can easily eject the electrons. So these metals, alkali metals, are having high atomic size and low ionization potential. Due to this high atomic size and low ionization potential, alkali metals are preferred in photoelectric effect. Next, the number of electrons which are ejected from the metallic surface are directly proportional to intensity. More intense light if you supply the metal, more electrons are ejected. Less intense light if you supply, less number of electrons are ejected, less photocurrent is generated. So I can write here the number of photoelectrons ejected directly proportional to intensity of incident light. Intensity of incident light. If intensity of incident light is more number of electrons are ejected. Another important point is kinetic energy of ejected electrons. Kinetic energy of ejected electrons is directly proportional to kinetic energy of ejected directly proportional to frequency of incident light. Frequency of incident light. These points are important. One is number of photoelectrons ejected directly proportional to intensity, and kinetic energy of ejected electron directly proportional to frequency of incident light. Frequency of incident light means I already told you every metal having a characteristic frequency. If incident frequency is more than threshold frequency, then electrons are ejected. Electrons ejected. When electrons are ejected? When this is incident frequency. Incident frequency. And this is threshold frequency. When incident frequency is more than threshold frequency, then electrons are ejected. If it is less than or equal to threshold frequency, no electrons ejected. Electrons will not be ejected. Okay. Incident light of frequency from the light should be more than threshold frequency, then electrons are ejected. So this is the point. Based on this, if I draw the graph, if I take this, here I will take the based on these 2 points I am drawing, this is first point, this is second point. Okay. If I take the frequency versus kinetic energy. Frequency is directly proportional to kinetic energy. Okay, so that's why it increases slightly, but provided they must contain more than threshold frequency. As frequency of incident light increases, kinetic energy of ejected electrons increases. But here the frequency must be more than threshold frequency. If it is more than threshold frequency, then only electrons are ejected. But this kinetic energy is do not have any relation with intensity. When intensity is increases, kinetic energy of ejected electrons no change. Because kinetic energy do not depends on intensity. Kinetic energy depends only on frequency. Okay. So another point is, another two graphs I will draw. If I take the intensity of incident light versus photoelectrons or photocurrent. If intensity is more, photoelectrons ejected will be more. Whenever intensity of incident light is more number of electrons are ejected, more photocurrent pass through the circuit. That's why it increases linearly. Suppose if I take this photocurrent with frequency, an increasing frequency, is there any change in photocurrent? No. Because photocurrents depends on intensity, photocurrents do not depend on frequency. Here also kinetic energy depends on frequency, kinetic energy do not depends on intensity. Okay, this is all about the phenomenon called as photoelectric effect. Okay, so based on all this particle nature, wave nature, based on Rutherford model, Thomson model, another scientist named by Niels Bohr has given the structure of an atom for hydrogen atom. Let us see what is Niels Bohr theory or Bohr's model of hydrogen atom. Let us understand what is Bohr's model of hydrogen atom. Very, very important theory about structure of an atom. Bohr's model of an atom, you have to understand, it is explained based on Planck's quantum theory. Based on Planck's quantum theory, Bohr's model of hydrogen atom has been proposed. Here we have to understand the postulates. What are the main important points proposed by the Bohr's model of hydrogen atom? First point is, electrons revolves around the nucleus in fixed circular paths. Electrons revolve around the nucleus in a fixed circular paths. As already Rutherford has given this statement, every atom has nucleus in the center and electrons are revolving around the nucleus, like a solar system. Planets revolves around the sun, in the same way electrons also revolves around the nucleus. So this fixed circular paths he named as orbits. It is orbit. Okay. So here in this orbit electrons are revolving. Electrons will be revolving around the nucleus. The center we have nucleus. These electrons, as soon as electron revolves around the nucleus, they do not radiate energy. I mean, they neither gain energy nor lose energy. That's why these orbits are said to be stationary orbits. They are said to be stationary orbits. Stationary means fixed. They does not lose or gain energy. That's said to be stationary orbit. Each orbit is given by some English letter. This is K, L, M, N and so on. K means N is equal to first orbit, second orbit, third orbit, fourth orbit. Okay, first K means first orbit, L means second orbit, M third orbit, N fourth orbit. Each English letter represents one orbit. So here, second point I write here, as long as electron revolve around the nucleus, it neither lose energy nor gain energy. They do not lose, they do not gain, That's why that's said to be stationary orbits or stationary energy levels. I can also write these are said to be stationary energy levels. If we supply energy externally, if it gain energy, they shifted from lower orbit to higher orbit. If they lose energy, they come from higher orbit to lower orbit. Means, for example, here we have electron. If I supply energy for this electron, which is present in the first orbit, it shifted to the higher level. This is lower level, this is higher. Lower energy level, higher energy level. If it absorbs some energy, if electron absorbs energy, it shifted from lower orbit to higher orbit, or lower energy level to higher energy level. After reaching electron to the higher energy levels, electron become more energetic in the higher energy level, less stable. So it come back to the ground level again. While coming from higher level to ground level, it emit energy. How much amount of energy is emitted, how much amount of energy is absorbed, that depends how much energy we are supplying to the electron. Suppose if electron has to shift from first orbit to fourth orbit, we have to supply energy gap between fourth to first. If you want to excite the electron from first orbit to second orbit, we have to supply energy as energy gap between the two orbits, two successive orbits. I will explain this. Let us understand. So this is n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, n is equal to 3, n is equal to 4. These are, let us assume these are orbits. Electron is present here. I want to shift from electron first orbit to second orbit. How much energy I have to supply? So energy equal, the electron which is present in n is equal to 1 having energy E1. This is energy E2, energy E3, energy E4. If you want to shift electron from first orbit to second orbit, the energy you have to supply as E2 minus E1. The energy gap between these two, can be taken as E2 minus E1. That will be equal to NhE. That is change in energy, delta E. The difference in energy is absorbed or emitted. That is integral multiples of hν. That is quantized energy. This is quantized energy. Means, for example, if electron has to shift from E2 to E1, the difference in energy, this having some energy, this having some energy. Suppose it is a 3 electron volt, it is 1 electron volt. If electron has to shift from first orbit to second orbit, how much energy we have to supply? 3 minus 1, 2 electron volts we have to supply. Let us assume E4 having energy 5 electron volts. If electron has to shift from first orbit to fourth orbit, how much energy we have to supply? 5 minus 1, 4 electron volts we have to supply. So what I need to say here is, the energy difference between the energy levels will be taken as absorption of energy or emission. Suppose if electron will take 3 minus 1, for example, it is having 3 electron volts, it is having 1 electron. To excite electron from first orbit to second orbit, I have to supply E2 minus E1. That is 3 minus 1, 2 electron volt I have to supply. Let us take an example. So if I supply 2 electron volt for first electron, which is present in the first orbit, it shifted to from E1 to E2, E1 orbit to E2 orbit. While shifting from E1 to E2, electron becomes unstable because it becomes more energetic. It always tries to come back to the ground level. While coming back from E2 to E1, that is de-excitation, how much energy is emitted? The same amount of energy is emitted. Because 2 electron volts of energy has taken by the electron from first orbit to second orbit and undergo excitation. The same amount of energy will be emitted during de-excitation process. The amount of absorption is equal to the amount of emission. That is Planck's quantum theory. Okay, that's why beginning I told you this theory has been explained based on Planck's quantum theory. So we have to remember here the amount of absorption or the amount of absorption must be equal to the amount of emission. The difference in energy can be taken as absorption or emission. For lower orbit to higher orbit, excitation, higher orbit to lower orbit, de-excitation. Okay, so this is the second point. Next one is electron here revolving in a circular orbit. Whenever any orbit, any one object moving on linear motion, the momentum of that particle is P is equal to mv, product of mass into velocity. But whenever electron moving in a circular path, along with mass and velocity, we also consider radius. So the product of mass, velocity, radius is taken as angular momentum. So that I write here, angular momentum of electron, angular momentum of electron in orbit is integral multiples of h by 2 pi. Integral multiples of h by 2 pi. Angular momentum recognized here mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. Very important relation in h by 2 pi. Here n is equal to integer 1, 2, 3 and so on. Integer value means angular momentum of electron in the first orbit. This n represents orbit number. Angular momentum of electron first orbit, what I can write here? When electron is present in the first orbit, n is equal to 1. Angular momentum is equal to mvr is equal to 1h by 2 pi. Angular momentum of electron present in the second orbit. When electron present in the second orbit, mvr is equal to what I can write? 2h by 2 pi. When electron present in the third orbit, I can write 3h by 2 pi. Here h by 2 pi is a fixed value. H by 2 pi is a fixed value. So I told you, any property which has fixed by particular value, they are said to be, that property is said to be quantized. That's why written angular momentum of electron in orbit is quantized. Angular momentum of electron, like energy, is said to be quantized. Mean that type of energy level is only possible. That type of energy level is only possible. That value is fixed. H by 2 by value is fixed. For example, let me explain this a simple example. So these are the steps. These are steps. Each step having 1 feet. Each step having 1 feet height. So you can stand at 1 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet, or 4 feet, 5 feet. You can stand on the particular fields. Can you stand at 1.5 feet? No, you can't stand. Because 1 feet step is fixed. Every step is fixed by 1 feet. So we have to stand with respect to the given particular fixed value. Similarly, angular momentum of orbit h by 2 pi is fixed. If it is in first orbit, 1h by 2 pi. If it is in second orbit, 2h by 2 pi. If it is in third orbit, 3h by 2 pi. It will not be taken as fractions like 1.2h by 2 pi, 0.52h by 2 pi. It will not be taken. So 1h by 2 pi, 2h by 2 pi, 3h by 2 pi. That type of energy levels, that type of angular momentum are only possible. That type of orbits only, that type of energy levels only possible in Bohr's atomic model of an atom. Okay, so this is all about the Bohr's theory, Bohr's model of an atom, just as a postulates given by the Bohr's model. Okay, so after these postulates, we have to learn what is the energy of the electron in different energy levels, what is the radius of electron in different energy levels, what is the velocity, how to calculate those values. Okay, and remember this Bohr's theory is applicable only for one electron containing species. Bohr's model is applicable only for one electron containing species. One electron containing species. One electron containing species means what? For example, hydrogen I can write. One electron containing species are hydrogen. Helium contain 2 electrons, but helium plus contain 1 electron. Helium has 2 electrons. Helium plus means what? It lost 1 electron. So it contains only 1 electron. Okay. Lithium plus 2, beryllium plus 3, carbon plus 4, etc. All these are containing only 1 electron. So 1 electron containing species. The except hydrogen, remaining all are said to be, here hydrogen is separate, except hydrogen these are said to be hydrogen like species. They are said to be hydrogen like species. They are not hydrogen. Hydrogen like species means what? Which contain 1 electron. For this kind of species only Bohr's theory is applicable. We cannot able to apply this Bohr theory for more than 1 electron containing species. That's all about Bohr's model of hydrogen atom postulates. Next class I will explain about the energy, velocity and radius calculation.